how did you get to New York City?
I came to New York City for my undergraduate degree in the fall of 2016. I graduated during COVID, at which point I was evicted from my dorm because of the pandemic. And then I came back in November of 2020 and have been here since.
Where did you go to school?
Fordham University at Lincoln Center.
Did you always know New York was in your sights?
No, I think in some capacity I've always known I wanted to be a comedian and that I wanted to perform professionally. So it does make sense that I ended up here. I think really the first reason I came up here was because my sister 2 years prior to me came up to New York City to study. And I am obsessed with her and copy everything she does. So I think that was the primary reason. And then it just happened to be an excellent place to pursue the only thing I've ever dreamt of doing.
What was the appeal in New York initially for you?
I think definitely the presence of Anna Everhart. That's my sister. No, I think that honestly, like candidly, it's the presence of the theater where I perform now, the theater at which I currently perform characters. I was obsessed with the UCB when I was a young teenager, and I asked for the textbook for my 17th birthday, and I had an Ask Cat DVD, which is their kind of flagship improv show there, and I would watch that and take notes. And when I'd come up to visit my sister when she was in college and I was still in high school, she would always take me there, and we'd see any show that was running there. And so I think that was always something that I was attracted to. I think I knew when I was coming to study theater, I knew that I would ultimately end up there. And I'm very grateful that ended up being the case, even when it shuttered temporarily due to the pandemic.
What about UCB resonated with you when you first learned about it when you were a teenager?
I think it felt like something I didn't realize existed. It was my first example of adults doing comedy for real. I saw Saturday Night Live for the first time when I was a teenager. And that was my first time seeing anything like that, where, people are really like doing this for their job. And then I think I wondered, in all the late night stuff, I was a big fan of like Johnny Carson and Carol Burnett and the Dick Van Dyke Show and Mary Tyler Moore and, Monty Python's Flying Circus. And I was always fascinated at how those people ended up getting to do those things. And then you learn about these training grounds, like the Second City or the Upright Citizens Brigade or the Groundlings or IO or any of these institutions. And so I think it just was attractive to me that adults were studying something so unnecessary. Because I've always liked to study and I've always liked to be ridiculous. And so I felt really well suited. I think a lot of comedians are very sort of avant-garde people and they make their own way. On the complete opposite side, I'm someone who really does well in institution. I almost joined the military during COVID. Like it's that, I really thrive in institutions. And so I think the concept of something like the UCB scratched that itch. Obviously there are pros and cons to that sort of thing, which we don't need to go into. But definitely the idea of like studying and finding community and getting to perform was attractive for me. And I'm very lucky that is the experience that I found with that theater, because I know, even at a training ground, it can be very competitive. So I feel very, very blessed and fortunate that that institution has given me nothing but opportunities and community, because I know that's not necessarily everyone's experience, and that's all right.
What is it about institutions that particularly suit you, or that allow you to thrive, as you just mentioned?
I like a ubiquitous outfit. I like to know what to wear. I don't know. I mean, we were chatting about this before hitting record, but I was raised by 4 Presbyterian ministers. There's something about the juxtaposition of creativity and freedom with religion, and also tradition and institution. I also know that it's a privilege to say that I associate things like creativity and freedom with religion, because I know for so many people that is not the case.
Yeah.
But that is the experience that I've been very, very privileged to have. So I think that was an example of institution that I grew up so immersed in just because it was my parents' work. And I have always loved artistic community. I've always loved school. I've always done very well in school. And I think all of those things come together to, I was a classical musician as a child, and I still am. And that has a very sort of, your schedule is planned. I knew, what my life was going to look like down to the hour, because there were things that needed to be accomplished in order to achieve certain goals and certain rankings and things like that. And that's just the nature of being a musician. And all of that really bundled up nicely with how much I identify as like a creative person or a free thinker, or and that sounds like such a bizarre pairing, like institutional conformity, but also free will and free thinking and creativity. I wish I could more eloquently break down how those things are able to exist together. I can't. I just know that they have for me, and that it's something I've always craved. And that is probably at once a good thing and something that will need to be unpacked for me down the road. But that's largely the experience I've had.
How did you know you wanted to be a comedian?
That's a great question. And it's one that when I pretend I'm being interviewed in my bathroom, I skip because I don't know the answer. It might be as easy as I always felt funny. It might be as easy as, I saw SNL one time when I was 15 and thought they look like they're having so much fun, I have to do that. Or it might be when I was in middle school and I did a play for the first time and got a laugh, and then I got bit by the bug. All of which are answers that are pretty self-centered, but I also completely acknowledge that that's the field that I'm in. It could be the sort of heady answer that we were trained to give in theater school, which is it's about the work and the, servanthood and, giving back and mutual aid, really. And, I consider being an artist to be like being a first responder in a way, because what is a first responder if not, the person who holds up a mirror to society and says, look what you've become. And then from that we grow. And that's the work that I ultimately do when I play characters like, Greg can't stop farting at the funeral. That's not a character of mine, by the way. I'll have you all know. I've never played Greg can't stop farting at the funeral. Although I do have a good friend who is a comedian at the theater, and she does a character. She's a fart sommelier. I don't know why she didn't write sommelier, but that's okay. It's not my character. She has these jars full of farts, and she opens them and gives them a sip and then goes like, it's California. Anyway, I think the answer is I don't have a good answer. It's absolutely a mix of all of those things, including the sort of self-aggrandizing latter realm of answers. I want to make people laugh, and I want to bring joy to people. It definitely includes a little bit of that, and I'm aware of that. But it also definitely includes the other end, which is I like to be lauded for doing a good job, and it's something at which I do a good job. I think comedy is also an art form that, you do get that instant feedback. I like feedback. Again, I like institution. Yeah. I like to be fed back to. I would be a great baby bird. I like to be fed. But it's the exact opposite of like growing up as a musician, where there is I think people think of music as being very subjective. Not the way I did it. I had a rubric that went, phrasing, blank out of 10, breath control, blank out of 10, like music theory, rhythmic accuracy, intonation, tuning. There's a difference between intonation and tunation. That's not a word. Your tone and your tune, they're different. And if I practiced hard enough, I could get the chair that I wanted.
Yeah.
That's kind of the game. great. If I put in my hours every day and play my instrument and practice hard enough, then I can get all those marks on the rubric and I can have the thing that I want, which is the chair or the award or the solo. And comedy is the exact opposite of that. You can spend hours and hours and hours, and it might not be received well. But I think I've largely been able to, I don't want to say avoid that in that, like, I haven't had pieces not be received well, but I think that's part of why the sort of musician Thoreau Walden version of working that I had when I was a child and I was playing music does not work well with comedy, in that the least successful I'm going to be is if I hole up in my apartment and type and never show it to anyone and never run it for anyone and never ask anyone to give me jokes or to give me ideas or what they think or whether they think this paragraph should go here and whether they think the blackout joke is too much of an undercut of the game that we've established. Music was very, like, being a classical musician was a lot more isolating, and that's how I was able to be successful. And with comedy, success comes from the exact opposite. It's throwing the rubric away and just going, it's people are the rubric. The people who you respect and find very funny, they're going to be the people who are going to make sure that this is as good as it can be before you show it to 100 people. And then we'll find out if they laugh. But I don't think I have ever, as a comedian, performed anything that wasn't seen by at least 20 people before I put it up. I'm definitely not someone who's like scribbling jokes in a book on the train ride to a show. I've got to hop on a Zoom call with the funniest 20 people I know beforehand, and before I'm ever going to consider showing it to people who paid money to hear it.
Did you know from high school the goal was to be at UCB, that a professional comedian for your life was where you were aiming, or did you have other plans?
Yeah, I mean, that was the aim, in that I knew it in my gut, but I couldn't say it out loud. I couldn't say any of the three-letter comedy institutions out loud until I worked with a therapist on it. I couldn't say SNL, UCB, JFL, CBS, NBC. I couldn't say any of those because it felt too crazy to say them out loud. What I thought I was going to do from maybe 7th grade up until my senior year of high school was I thought I was going to be a choral clinician. I wanted to get my bachelor's in music education, my master's in education, and my doctorate in choral conducting, and be like a choral clinician for honors choirs. Because I was the drum major of my marching band. I loved conducting. I was a very competitive choral singer. I studied conducting a little bit. I loved being a part of those types of ensembles. And I had some really great choral clinicians in my life, who really profoundly and artistically changed me. So I thought I was going to do that, and that felt like an ambitious enough career for me. And then my senior year of high school, I student taught at my local middle school with their choir department, and I just was too disillusioned, because although I loved working on the music and working with the children, what I didn't love was dealing with the administrative duties of, oh, we only have this amount of money for this semester and we need an SATB arrangement of this particular piece. And, the choral director isn't being compensated for half the labor that she's doing, and half the kids can't afford concert shoes and the school can't cover them. And, we got to get an activity bus together to go to, district choir, but it's going to cost, this amount of money for all of them to audition and to do that. It was just, I'm like, I think I could make music with children. I don't think I could work in a public school. And I say that as someone who reveres public school and grew up in public school and was a student in public school. I was profoundly disillusioned. And I also realized, as much as I love, the educators who made me a young artist, I realized that I don't have the profound, indescribable skill of working with children and being an educator that those who educated me had. And I just kind of thought, well, I can't do this if I can't do it as well as this long list of people who had a profound impact on me. If I can't do it as well as they can, if I don't have that innate thing that I think they have, as educators and people who work with young people and the minds of young people. I taught drama clubs in New York City for 2 years while I was kind of trying to find my feet. Footing. Find my feet is not the phrase. That's a website that I would not make good money on because my feet are large and bony and calloused. For those of you who aren't paying for the Patreon right now, so you can't see my feet, there is no Patreon. I'm going to disabuse you of that right now. I wear a women's 11 and a half. My second toe is much longer than my first toe. You know how some people have a second toe that's longer than their first toe? Sure. Mine is like notably longer than my first toe. People have commented. Anyway, and that's with like hardly any nails because I cut my nails really short on my toes. So that's not even like the nail overreach. That's just like pure natural toe. That's au natural. That's God-given. What was the question? You asked me, find my footing was the phrase that I said. I taught drama clubs in New York City for 2 years. And I every day I struggle thinking that I like developmentally was not doing everything correct for those kids. Because I'm like, my drama teachers are the reason that I get to do what I'm doing now. I was that for other kids for 2 years. And I don't think I did a quarter as good a job. It's still like, I still wake up and shudder thinking like, God, I was not skilled enough to be for them one morsel of what my instructors were for me. So I'm ultimately glad I didn't pursue that. Although I think, because I simply think I'm not good enough to do, I'm not good enough at it. You know, people are, always those who can't do teach. My experience is completely the opposite. In my case, I couldn't teach, so I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever consider other forms of comedy, stand-up comedy, for example, as a trajectory for you, or was that never really in the cards?
There's some cute little photo of me when I was in kindergarten doing quote unquote stand-up in my kindergarten talent show. I was wearing a hat and I wrote, "Please laugh" on the hat, which I still feel like that's the vibe I give off. And I was wearing a fleece vest and a turtleneck. And on the fleece vest, I pinned a piece of paper that said, "Please laugh." And I read knock knock jokes from the internet out loud into a microphone. The only one I remember is Stinkerbell was the punchline. It's probably like, what do you call a fairy who stinks? Stinkerbell. And then there was a one about the robber ducky who steals soap in the bath. The robber ducky that I stole from, you know the brand Crayola?
Sure.
Make the crayons. So they used to make movies for children.
Really?
Of classic literature. So they had I believe this was a Gulliver's Travels that was kind of made contemporary, and the cast was all children. And I just remember one of the children in that movie makes the joke. There's like a stand-up club that Gulliver travels to where the kids are. They're all in period dress. But there's a stand-up club he goes to, and one of the kids goes, "Who steals soap in the bath?" "The robber ducky." Anyway, so I took that joke from that. The last time I ever stole a joke, mind you. Don't let this ruin I'm gonna get canceled for stealing a joke when I was 5 years old. Everyone go watch the Crayola Gulliver's Travels. Make the Crayola company wonder why there's a surge in the like Amazon rentals of that movie. So that was like quote unquote stand up. And when I was in high school, when I wanted to be a comedian like so badly, it like gave me a rash. We didn't really do too much in terms of licensed theater at my school because we didn't even have an auditorium or anything. We had a little stage in the cafeteria though, when we performed. I put up a variety show there, and then I wrote a bunch of sketches to star in. And I did write like a tight 5 for that, and it was not good. I remember I dissected some rap lyrics, which everyone wants a white woman in rural Virginia to an audience of 0 people of color to be doing. I dissected some rap lyrics, and then I think I talked about like a boy, which is funny because not interested. And then I think I probably closed with like, "That's my time," because I heard someone do that one time. The long answer made short is no. I have a stand-up set. I am asked to do stand-up maybe a couple times a year, and I will for like work. If it's like a corporate event.
Yeah.
I have done and will do. Hang on, I have to swallow, but I don't want to do it in the mic. All right. I spared you all that. We're not wearing monitors or anything, so I don't know how loud that was. I'm sorry to what's your editor's name?
Manuel.
Manuel. I'm sorry, Manuel. Guys, give it up for Manuel. Give it up. Tip your bartenders, you guys. Tip your editors. So no, stand up. No, sketch I love, and I still do sketch. I'm on an independent sketch team right now called Big Apartment. I love them very much. They're the ones with whom I was primarily performing before I came to the UCB. So, I performed with a sketch collective, and they were among them. But character is definitely the thing for which I'm primarily known and about which I become primarily excited. But it was always scripted comedy. I've always been more interested in scripted comedy. Although I did do some improv. And of course, that's certainly not to say that stand-up isn't scripted, but I think this is not the terminology to use. I don't know why I don't know better terminology, but like fictionalized scripted comedy.
Yeah.
Sketch and character is what I love, but I absolutely do the others. A few times a year I get asked to do a roast, which is always fun. I think a lot of comedians kind of can do a good amount of like just little things in all the different categories. I imagine it's like if I went to a primary care doctor and said, "Can you tell me if, my eye is irritated?" They'd be able to be like, "Yeah, it looks like your eye's a little irritated." They're not an optometrist, but they could go, "Yeah, your eye's a little irritated. I could prescribe you like a basic drop, but if it continues, you might want to go see someone who specializes in that." I feel that way about doing stand-up. If someone's like, "Hey, can you do 10 minutes?" Sure, I can do 10 minutes on your set. If you want to continue this relationship, you probably want to find someone who specializes in that. But yeah, I feel I've always wanted to do sketch and character. That has always been the only thing. I love good improv. I mean, I love good comedy in general. I love good stand-up. I love good improv. I love good character. I love good sketch. But sketch and character are definitely the ones that scratch my particular itch.
What is it about that resonates so much with you? Why is it that it's those two that you feel like you've gravitated towards?
I get to wear costumes, which is not the case for stand-up and improv. I mean, you totally can. Go for it. In fact, you should. Tell the stand-up and stand-up comics and improvisers on the call here. Put on a funny hat or something. What are you doing? Put on a little outfit. You could do like a ruffled, like an Edwardian ruffled collar. Could be cool. I think Edwardian was a little late for a rough collar. I think we're thinking more Jacobian. Anyway, I get to wear costumes. I have a background in theater, right? So I want scripted comedy. I want costumes. I want spectacle. That's kind of as I've spent more years doing comedy, the one thing that I seem to be sure about, because I think doing comedy leaves a lot of open-ended questions about, who I am and what artistically I'm interested in. But the one that has been made very clear to me is I want spectacle. Pretty much everything I write has a big musical number, and I want big costumes, and I want costume changes, and I like to be so deliberate with a script. I'll call a friend in the middle of the night to go, "What do you think is funnier, of or for in this particular syntax? What do you think?" And I think all of that is really, I think sketch and character are very conducive to that kind of big theatricality. Some of the coolest stand-ups I know are just that. They're very cool. They're very laid back. They wear jeans. And they kind of go, "What else? What else?" They have sort of a vibe like they're smoking a cigarette. I'm not that cool. And improvisers always just look like fun, carefree bisexuals who just threw on the nearest flannel and like a cool pair of sneakers. And, afterwards they're all going to go eat French fries and kiss. And I've been trying to get my character team to do that with me, and they won't do it. And half of them have been on this show. So if you guys are listening, fries and kiss, come on. Just a little, guys. But I think character and sketch absolutely give me the opportunity to present the very most polished thing I can.
Yeah.
And for me, and this is not to project this sentiment onto the kind of comedy other people do, for me as Ashley, as a comedian, that is the way that I feel I'm respecting the audience the most. Is like, I'm going to give you the most bang for your buck.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a show. This is not going to be something I've half-assed. This is not going to be something I threw together the night before. Like, this is something that has kept me up for weeks so that I can make it as funny for you as possible. Because if I'm not successful, I feel unsatisfied with the way that you exchanged legal tender to laugh tonight, and I didn't do that.
It's precise and intentional.
It's so intentional. And I also know too, I'm performing for a theater that people audition for, that people get cut from, that is, I think this past season we had 600 people audition for like 50 slots.
Wow.
And I don't take that lightly. And if I can help it, I'm going to be the most prepared and the most funny and dressed the most ridiculous that I possibly can for you.
What do you notice of you said 60 out of 500. That's a very low acceptance
I think
rate.
I said 50 out of 600.
Sorry, 50 out of 600.
But I don't know the exact number. Let me call the artistic team really quick.
It's a minority who are getting it.
It's a minority.
What do you notice in the people in terms of their talent or work ethic? What separates, let's say, the 50 out of the 600? What kind of qualities do you notice make somebody who's kind of worthy of that position in your mind?
Well, I do not sit in the auditions.
Right.
So I'll say I have not seen the scope. Talent, I don't even know that I can speak to, right? It's like the rubric thing I was talking about earlier. Talent with comedy it becomes a little bit too subjective. I don't even know how I would define talent personally, outside of comedy, much less within this very subjective field. So I can't really say what the difference is between the people who perform for the theater and the people who would like to and haven't yet been given the opportunity. I can speak for the people who I know who do perform for the theater, because those are the ones I know. And great body. You have to be really fine. That's an immediate no. If you walk in and you're a 6, like, God, the first thing you do is show your abs. This is not true. If anyone's trying to cancel okay, I'm going to get a call after this from Michael Hartney. Like, are you trying to get the theater shut down? So yeah, tits and ass first in the room. And then that's not even a great joke because I just established it was abs first. I think it's, that's a good question. I don't know that I've thought about it well enough to really give you a great answer. What I can tell you is the people I work with are the funniest people I know. And I know that there are so many more funny people out there who are ready for the opportunity as well and will have it. There's a certain level of, I don't know, I think there's a certain type of character performance that within the performance itself, and it is a solo type of performance, you can tell when someone is also going to make a good collaborator and a good teammate and someone who uplifts other people. You can smell that in their writing, I think. You can smell that in their presence just a little bit. Because I think that, here's what I'll say. I can't necessarily say what'll make you successful in an audition because I don't run the auditions. What I can say is what'll make you successful at the theater, at least one of the many characteristics that will make you successful at the theater, is being a team player, especially in character where so much, the final product is completely isolated and you get complete credit for it.
Yeah.
You can tell the people who are just so thrilled to be among the people among whom they are. What clumsy syntax that was. And here I am saying, oh, I'm such a skilled writer. Oh, I love to be precise with my verbiage. Yeah, being a team player is, I think, comes first to being inherently funny. The thing about character, and if anyone's ever been wanting to try it, just try it. Take a $200 class with Eric Fiora and Sarah Smallwood Parsons virtually, because it really is so teachable. I think a lot of people shy away from comedy because they think there's some knack they just don't inherently have. And I'm like, the knack is usually just, are you obsessed with the people you're working with? Do you find them to be the funniest people in the world? Do you love going into rehearsal with them? Do you find yourself getting funnier when you're with them? That's going to make you successful at it in an institutionalized theater. Institutionalized sounds like they've locked me away to the funny farm. Can I say that? Yes. Is funny farm allowed? As someone who's received psychiatric medical attention, I think I can say the phrase funny farm. And I'm going to make that declaration right now. But yeah, love comedy, love the people that you're with. Seek to grow and continue to train. And this is also going to sound so gay, and I can say that as someone who's been mentally instituted. No, I'm kidding. Someone as a gay person, just find joy in it. Perform joyfully. Seek to transmit joy. It really does make a difference. Yeah. You can really tell. And I wish it wasn't so cliched and so saccharine, but you can really tell when someone is wishing to radiate joy versus when someone is wishing to not shit themselves because they're so nervous. I try to do both those things. I try to radiate joy and also not shit myself. And, I think I accomplish both of those things in pretty much every character I perform. Sometimes I pee a little. Here's my secret. You ready for my secret? Right before I go on stage, I pee 1 drop within myself because it reminds me that nothing is that serious. It makes me go, well, I've already made the first mistake. Nothing I do out there can be worse than like I'm an adult woman who just decided to pee a little bit every single time I perform. And you know what? Like, I really do think that does for my anxiety what no benzodiazepine ever could. I don't know why. I can't wait till the day that I get to put an addendum in the UCB textbook of like Ashley's tips and tricks. And it's like, be a team player. Be, studious about your writing. A little bit of piss. Just a little bit of piss right before you go on. Because then you have a secret, right? When I was in acting school, my acting teacher, Tina Benko. Yes, that Tina Benko. She's very cool. She was in the first episode of SVU. In fact, Mariska Hargitay was just on a podcast, I believe, talking about the first episode of SVU, and she talked about how she was nervous that she was going to lose the role of Olivia Benson to this other woman who ended up being a guest star in the first episode. And I'm like, that's my acting teacher, Tina Benko. She was the wife of the murdered man in episode 1, season 1 of SVU. She came on screen and I'm like, there she is. Anyway, she used to say in acting class, she had this great like dusky voice. There were a few things she would say. She would always say like, do the work, mama. But also she would say, I used to do a better Tina Benko. She would also say, something to the effect of like, I just need you to come on stage with a little secret. Something like that. I remember one time I was doing Blanche Dubois in her class. I don't know why, like what look at my 19-year-old gangly ass made her go, I'm going to have her read Blanche. But I came on stage. I tried my best. I was having a hard time. I was not memorized. I was not ready to do this scene. I was nowhere near capable of tackling this like massive American work. And after the scene, and it was the big scene. I think it was Love is the Closest Thing We Have to Magic. It was it was the big Streetcar Named Desire scene. Now I'm wondering if I misquoted that. Love is the closest thing we have to Is it Love? Oh God, that's like the most famous quote from Street. I think it is Love. I don't want realism. I want magic. That's the line. I don't want realism. I want magic. Here's what I just quoted. When I said love is the closest thing we had to magic, I was quoting the movie Aquamarine. The movie with like JoJo and it's from like 2007 or something. Let me quick Google. There's a line in there when she turns into a mermaid and she goes, love is the closest thing we have to magic. What I meant was, hang on, Aquamarine. I gotta find out what year this came out. I'm posting this. I have to tell everybody what I've done here today. Anyway, so I do Blanche. I finished the scene. The movie Aquamarine came out in 2006. It has a 5.4 on IMDb. And I look at Tina Benko and she goes, do you really think that's how Blanche would walk, mama? And that's the day I became a woman. So I misquoted. So the line from Streetcar Named Desire is, I don't want realism, I want magic. It's a famous line of Tennessee Williams. I said, love is the closest thing we have to magic, which was spoken by a mermaid in a terrible, I say chick flick with all the love in the world, 2005 film, Aquamarine. So, you the listeners at home, determine whether I deserve my bachelor's degree in theater. God. You know what? I'm really pleased that happened. So the ultimate question that you asked was,
let me ask you this.
so curious.
Do you find that the people that are in your crew are like you in the sense that they've known they've wanted to do this for, if not their whole life, most of their adult life? This is sort of the end result of years of performing an intentional destination for them. Or do most people, is that not necessarily the case?
I think it's so cool when people go, I didn't even ever mean to be a comedian. It just happened. Like Bill Hader says that in interviews a lot. He goes like, I stumbled into a class one day and I randomly did a sketch show and it was also random. And I think Heidi Gardner talks about that. She was a hairdresser before getting SNL and her friend took her to see a show at the Groundlings and the rest is hit. I think that's so cool. Fred Armisen was a punk musician. I think myself, and I would say most, although I couldn't give you a good percentage. I don't know if that's like 51% most or 99% most. I would say most people who are doing what I'm doing, who like seek out this particular theater, this particular type of performance, had some sort of long game for it. The length of those long games varying, but I think for the most part, because at least I think a lot of people's experience, it's so cool that some people randomly get to have this incredible career. And that it's like not a plan but it just so happens. I think that kismet is very cool. I think for a lot of people though, it is so difficult to work in this industry and it is so impossible that if you even think about wanting to try it, you might as well like give your all to it and spend years and years and years trying to perform at these theaters and trying to get these different accolades and trying to get in certain rooms. At least that's the experience I've had. I don't know that I talked to my comedian friends too much about it, about like where they came from and, why they ended up doing what they're doing. Some are playwrights, some were stand-ups or improvisers, some were actors, some I'm sure were dragged along to an improv class and fell in love with it and then figured out, a different comedic niche they wanted to do. But I know at least my particular experience is I have known for a very long time that this is what I wanted to do. And I've tried very, very, very hard to do it. And that is not better or worse than the people for whom that is not the case. Again, in my mind, I was just like, well, it is so unlikely I'm going to get to do this. So if I want it like this badly, I might as well try really, 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 really hard because I know it is what I want to do. And I would always regret not having done that, even though it would be really cool if a career just happened upon me, or if this career had just happened upon me, or if, I think I figured like that's the case for some really cool, awesome, very funny, lucky people. And I'm not going to proceed pursuing this career as though I am lucky. I'm going to proceed like I am owed nothing and try my darndest.
Talk to me about the moment when it did happen.
What, when I got UCB?
Yeah.
I got a call while I was teaching a saxophone student. So it went to voicemail. And then I saw I got a call from an unlisted number. I said, I bet that's either the New York Blood Service because I am an avid donor. Don't fact check that. I think it's been a year since I've given blood. But then I listened to the voicemail and it was like, hey, this is artistic director's name here. I think I've already named him in this podcast. It was like, hey, give me a call back. And I also saw a text from some other friends of mine who had gotten it, who were like, I got the call and I got it. And then I saw that was the voicemail. So I kind of figured. And then I called them back and it was a handful of people on the phone. And they said, hey, we have an offer for you. And I think I went, I'm going to set the mic back a little bit. I think I went, And I think I actually didn't say yes. I think I probably just said, and then like a month later, I was performing my first character there, which was Will.i.am's wife, who was written in the style. I wrote her in the style of Blanche DuBois in Streetcar Named Desire. And she was upset with Will.i.am for a lyric of his that I actually don't think makes any sense. And so she was like waiting with the light on, like, well, you're home late. Have a seat. I hope you had a good concert, you son of a bitch. Like it was, yeah. Why am I cross? You know why I'm cross. It was something like that. The lyric, if you're wondering, was in Boom Boom Pow. He sings, beat so big I'm stepping on leprechauns. And that just doesn't make any sense because leprechauns are canonically small. So while a big beat could step on a leprechaun, a leprechaun as a size reference does not do anything to convince me that the beat is big. If you wanted to convince me the beat was big, you should have it step on something big. Because then I'd be impressed. I'd go, wow, the beat was able to step on that? The beat was able to step on, you know, an airplane hangar, but they're so big. Well, the beat is bigger. But to say beat's so big I'm stepping on leprechauns, I'm not that big. I could step on a leprechaun. Most people I know could step on a leprechaun because, again, they are, say it with me, canonically small. So the character was her in like a long, flowing red velvet nightgown with like an Ebenezer Scrooge like candlelight going like, well, 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 you sang the lyric again. You didn't take my suggestion. Why? Because it makes us look like a fool, Will.i.am. I remember the line that got the biggest laugh in there was I said, the neighbors, they whisper, our daughter gets bullied, mostly because she's gay, but also because you're her father. And yeah, I'm drunk. There's another line where she goes, God, wait, what was this one? She goes, she talks about how it's not a specific size reference to say, because ostensibly Will.i.am then goes, yeah, but a big beat could step on a leprechaun. And she goes, okay, well, if I went missing, would you tell the police I'm 5'10", or would you say I'm larger than a golf pencil? Read a book. It was received tepidly, the character. I don't know why that was the one I chose to debut at the theater with. I haven't performed it since then. I do think it's funny. And for, I believe, 2 people that I've met in my life, it is their favorite of mine. I believe I ranked it last season. I did 11 characters last season. I think I ranked it maybe like 8 out of 11. Mostly because it was just a little hyper specific for a debut. But I looked really good. I looked like Bernadette Peters. I had like my hair piled on top of my head and a cigarette. Oh, and at one point I put on a record and I went, we used to dance. Like I wasn't even talking about the Black Eyed Peas anymore. I was just like, dance with me, William. Oh, we used to dance. Remember the foxtrot? Like, also the theater had like just opened. And so it was so dusty in there because they'd been doing construction. So the video I have, like the air is so filled with dust. The stage is like covered in a gray film with like footprints all in it. It looks vile. Like the whole experience. That was my big debut. Will.i.am's wife. Directed by Cameron McCall. Hey Cam, how you doing?
Let's close with this.
I was expecting a prayer. That's kind of how my parents would like start the doxology. They'd be like, let us close our worship by bowing our heads in prayer. Yeah, and then they, proceed with.
It sounds like you have already achieved a lot of what you were hoping for. And I always like to ask guests about how they think about success in their life. If we were to talk in 2 years from now, what does that mean for you? What does a successful career in comedy look like as you look into your future? And maybe it's already what you have.
That's a great question. I wish I was the kind of wholly at peace person to say, I feel 100% successful, 100% as I am. I don't. I am a flawed woman. I am unwell. No, I'm great. I'm relatively well. I think I'm pretty well. Would you say I'm well? Tell me I'm well. Tell me I'm the most well. of anyone who sat upon your couch. I would love to... What does success look like for me in 2 years? I don't want to say it in terms of like jobs I want to have. Because not only is that scary, but it also feels like it's farther away from the kind of person that I was just saying I'm not. And I want to try to be that person. So I want to say success for me in 2 years is I get funnier. Because when I watch stuff of me from 2 years ago, I'm like, oh, she's doing a really good job. That does not really suit my comedic sensibilities right now. I would like to look back at the material I'm doing right now in 2 years and go, oh, I'm making comedy that feels about 2 years better than this. So I would like to be funnier. I would like to have collaborated with more people. I think that's one of the thrills of comedy that as a character comedian, I don't always take the best advantage of. So look at us now. That's exactly what we're doing right now. And I think even outside of comedy, I think personally, I would like to feel more settled. I would like to continue to feel healthy and happy and joyful. And I want to feel, so growing up, I kept a countdown calendar on a whiteboard on my wall in my childhood bedroom. It was like a dark blue whiteboard, which now to think of it, why would you make a whiteboard dark blue? That's not a high contrast color. What am I going to do? Write on black? Write with black marker on that? Ridiculous. I forget who manufactured it, but I'll figure that out. Anyway, I kept a countdown calendar on it because I always wanted something to look forward to, whether it was like marching band camp or choir camp or the opening of a musical or, some, state band auditions or something like that. Some party with friends. Anything that I was looking forward to in the next 6 months or so, I'd keep on this calendar, and every day I'd take a notch off because I'm very much someone who I am at my most content when I have things to look forward to. But I think sometimes comedy, because I love it so much and I long for it so deeply in my loins, I have a hard time looking forward to it because I'm so afraid of, sometimes I just stand so afeared in its shadow. I'm like, ooh, this is big, scary comedy. This thing I love so much is in front of me and now I have to go do it. And I don't want to. I think I would like to see more of that fade away and see comedy always as something that I'm joyful doing and that I look forward to doing. Because when I feel both of those things, that is when I make comedy that is the best. And when I do not feel both of those things, that is when I feel the most insecure and unsatisfied. So I think seeking satisfaction not from exterior validation. My therapist is going to jerk it to this. She's going to be like, I fucking fixed her. Hey, Felicia. That's her name. But I think rather than seeking a definition of success from external validation, seeking a definition of success from what I know good comedy is to me, which is comedy that makes me feel joyful and like I always have something to look forward to. How are you? What are you up to these days? How are you doing? How's your folks and them? How's your sister and them? Your mama good?
Very good.
How's she good? She's good? All right. That's good to hear. Your daddy still fixing cars?
Still doing that.
Classic Pietro. It's your dad's name?
That's him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He named his son Dan. He's named Pietro. Yeah. Named his son Dan. Well, hey, thanks as hell for having me. Is that a phrase? Thanks as hell?
It is now.
I think it should be.
Ashley, thank you.
This has been Artists of New York. Is that public? I don't think Autumn in New York is public domain. It could be, because it's almost 100 years. That's my Billie Holiday impression, by the way. Autumn in New York. That's a terrible, she's an incredible vocalist. My girlfriend has a great Billie Holiday impression where she goes, this is from I'll Be Seeing You. She goes, she just does the phrase, the wishing well. That's it. That's Billie Holiday. Yeah, if you don't have a theme song for this show, and I don't know if you do because I listened to some episodes, so I skipped ahead. You should do Artists of New York set to Autumn in New York. I'm saying that as a jazz musician to you. I'll play horn on it.
Let's do it.
Artists of New York. They're in Dan's apartment. The wishing well. That's a different song entirely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.